Hey there, all my Rotation 411 Astrology subscribers. So I wanted to hop on here and do a little video specifically for Neptune conjunct Uranus. Now, I've already spoken on it in the Twin Flames, False Twin Soulmate video, and I've spoken on it in the Deal Breaker and Divorce Aspects video, but I've had a few more revelations about it lately. And some of those I did touch on a couple weeks ago in the Deal Breaker Divorce Aspects video. I'll link that. I always forget which side it is up there. So I actually wrote a title for it last night when I was laying in bed meditating on it, and so it's the title of this video, Neptune conjunct Uranus, Two Separate Worlds. And so I had labeled this my false twin aspect because for me specifically, I have a real twin. So for those of you like on other platforms that have been ordering from me that are now finally, getting to the YouTube channel, you're like, oh, why am I taking advice from someone who, well, I'm a twin, so I'm on the journey, and I've dealt with a lot of karmics and soulmates, and part of my evolution as the twin is to, I believe, bring humanity together with their proper astrological matches, but my twin's not on board yet, so we'll see if that happens. But anyways, so basically, it's two separate worlds, right? And the thing is when you have Neptune conjunct Uranus, like for me, I've had it with two people, and in the Twin Flame video, I was actually thinking of the wrong person. That was a Neptune conjunct Neptune. So I had said like the telepathy, literally, and I put a little comment, or I wrote it below, where it actually wasn't Neptune conjunct Uranus, it was Neptune conjunct Neptune. Now you're gonna have this with most people around your age, but for some reason that person was actually like 6.5 years younger than me, so maybe his was retrograde, but he could literally read my mind. Our moons were sextile, so I don't know. I don't know why. Like, I can only think Neptune conjunct Neptune with that. But again, you would have that with a lot of people around your age too. So Neptune conjunct Uranus is it's I was saying it's the false twin aspect, and the good news was that if you had a false twin, you had a real twin. The thing was I was only seeing Neptune conjunct Uranus, here and there, and when people came to me thinking it was their twin flame, they either had a moon conjunction, an out of sign moon conjunction, which can feel like a twin flame, but is kind of false twinny as well, because you can't really live together unless it's proper dignity Vedic. But you can watch the other twin flame videos, like the second one, I think I talk about the proper dignity. But anyway, I'll link that up here eventually too. So I was seeing this a lot, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I was telling you guys in the Deal Breaker and Divorce Aspects video, where I get a little more clear on what those are. I was just like, I'm so frustrated. I had like 5 clients today, and they all have Neptune conjunct Uranus, and just from like at least one of them, not like, I just don't feel like they're all twin flames, because I don't think twin flames are that common. Now, you guys know, if you've been following along my celebrity synastries or anything like that, where I like to dissect, are they twin flames like Megan Fox and MGK and stuff? I don't I like to always, I've wondered since I was a child, like, do we have one person that's meant for us, or is there like a handful of people that we could bump into, and we'd have different paths with each of them, or whatever path we choose, we'll find one of them, or is there one out of every 100,000 that would work for us, and depending on whether we live in the same place or we move, like, I've always wondered these things. So obviously I would come to this point of helping in this way. So the thing is maybe we all have a twin flame, and that's like our traditional idea of soulmate, before we realized we have soul tribes and all of that, and lots of different soulmates. But for me, the way I keep it right now is we have those soulmate life partners, where we have the moon trines and the nice, we could live with them for life, and we may have been fated to. And then we have the twin flames, which is just like this whole other animal, and there's a higher mission. So if you're a twin flame, you're usually not just like, you're not going to be someone that's just working a desk job 9 to 5. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just you're going to at least be doing tarot readings after work, or I don't know, something with the spiritual realm, especially if you're the feminine, you know, and if you're the masculine, you're always going to be seeking these things out. So you could work at a desk job possibly, but you're still going to be seeking for bigger answers. Now, again, that could just go to what's in your chart. If you have like Sagittarius or Pisces, you might be called to do that as well. Anyway, I'm kind of going off there. Like Neptune conjunct Uranus, I want to keep this kind of short and sweet. You know, Neptune is the 12th house. It's Pisces ruled. It's the other realm. It's the collective unconscious. I call it the other realm because I think it's like all that's around us that we can't see. My ayahuasca trip, you know, there, I believe like the veil is right there. It's very thin, like on Halloween per se. So, you know, we're constantly drifting in and out of that when we're sleeping. It's always right there. It's all the angels and spirits around us. I do believe there's like a thin veil though, and I believe there's a whole lot of activity going on kind of in parallel to us. But you know, what we're sowing here, we're reaping there, right? So we're anchoring here, and that's why we come here. Now, whether we incarnate more than once, I'm not a firm believer in past lives or multiple lives, but I do think we have this life to redirect up there, because I think when we're up there, we're really floating around at like crazy different velocities and momentum. So this is our way of kind of grounding, you know, Earth, Gaia. So that's just to put it in a nutshell. So that's Neptune. That's like ruling all those things. If you're Pisces, it's like your final life. It's the collective of all the signs. So Uranus is the 11th house. It's right next to Pisces. It's the ruler of Aquarius. And the thing about Uranian energy is it's electricity, it's air. So think of power lines, think of Wi-Fi, you know, it's social networks. Like, how do we do that? We do that through Wi-Fi, you know, TV networks, anything that's broadcast over the air, even radio networks, that's all the 11th house. That's like advanced technology. But it's not to the technology of the 12th house, where we don't even need Wi-Fi, wires, all of that, because we're already tapped into everything. You know, our subconsciouses are always interacting with each other. So I feel like when you have a Neptune conjunct Uranus connection with someone, especially if you're the Uranus person, if it's not a false twin awakening you to a real twin, it's a spiritual awakening. Now, you could, you know, have a high school sweetheart, get married, live happily ever after, meet someone in your 20s, and never bump into someone whose Neptune is conjunct your Uranus. And so you're never going to have this kind of activation. And basically, it's more of an acceleration. So if you don't bump into this kind of relationship, that doesn't mean that you're not going to like spiritually evolve on your own, you know, or that you don't have gifts or aren't highly evolved. It's just, it's sort of an acceleration when you bump into a Neptune conjunct Uranus connection, but it feels very faded, and they're very hard to disconnect from, which is why they are my false twin aspect as well. So it's rare. It's about as rare as a Venus conjunct Mars, like a proper one, where, you know, in a heterosexual relationship, it's going to be the woman's Venus and the man is Mars. That's the best way it works. When it's opposite, it gets really tricky. You can watch probably any of those videos to see that. But anyway, so any of my other aspect videos. And we're going to do the love at first sight one soon too, so I'm sure I'll touch on that one a little more again, but it is in the twin flame video as well. So when you are, I was under the impression that it was Neptune that has the spiritual awakening, because Neptune is the more spiritual planet, but I looked at, so like I was saying, I got confused about which two I had this with, but it was actually both the two that resemble most my twin. Okay, that have like the one from childhood, Neptune, and like my young adulthood, Neptune conjunct Uranus, he and I had the moon conjunction. So that is like my twin. But the one that I met about 10 years ago, when I made a huge transition in my life and moved 1,000 miles south, I had it with, and he actually just in a lot of other ways like led me to my twin. Like there was certain actual connections or things in common, or very similar things that I wouldn't have been led to the twin. Like if I had set my sights on living in Los Angeles, and he was part of what anchored me here in a very energetic way. It wasn't like he was like, oh, hey, little girl, come move down here with me. It was like, we had actually talked because I wanted to see like who is down here, and I don't believe in dating sites. You guys know I'm doing the divine timing database, but I was like, I don't know anything about it. Let me see if there's any guys down there I'd like. So I got on there. I talked to like two of them. He was one of them. I got here, I totally forgot about it. And I was literally going through my voicemails because a close friend had passed away right before I moved, and I was listening to her voicemails, and I was kind of cleaning house, and I came across his voicemails right as I was about to delete everything. And so if I hadn't come across his voicemails, and I had totally spaced him in the 4-month span, you know, I hadn't thought of him once. I almost feel like he thought like part of the motive was him, but I had already made up my mind and I was coming, and then it happened even faster than I thought. Got here, had totally spaced him because everything had happened so rapidly. It was like, you know, a quantum leap for me. So when I got here, I was just like sitting around, finally taking a break, clearing out my phone, and connected with him. So he definitely led me to the twin, because if I wouldn't have connected with him, I don't know if I would have connected with the twin. So the thing is just from little things I wouldn't have followed or been interested in. Like there was like something came up and I would have been like, I'm too good for that, you know. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, because this Neptune conjunct Uranus person it related to. So the point of the matter is that I thought, so when I looked at his, now I didn't look at the moon conjunction one, but I remember saying in the deal breaker divorce aspect video that I thought it was the Neptune person that has the spiritual awakening. But remember, Neptune is the unconscious. So I feel like Neptune in this scenario is generally going to be asleep, and they're not even going to realize what's happening. Okay, like this person when I moved to LA, he's you know, he went to church and stuff, but he's very much asleep. He doesn't believe in, I mean, he believes in God. So, I mean, he has his spirituality. I don't want to discount that or say that's not good enough. But he's definitely not, I mean, he has actually played with brujeria. We talked about that on me and others probably. But, so the thing though is so there is a little bit of spiritual weird things going on with Neptune here, but they're either not going to be awake, or they're going to be very evolved and settled. So, okay, so like right now, and this was why I decided to make this video and elaborate a little more. I'm kind of segueing back and forth, but I was so frustrated because a week or two ago, and I said this in the deal breaker divorce aspect video, I was getting all these clients with Neptune conjunct Uranus for like one day. I even got a bad review because I told her, oh, this is false twin aspect, and she didn't want to hear that. And I forgot how binding it really could be, right? So I'm like, why are all these Neptune conjunct Uranus relationships popping up? Usually I see them, you know, one here, one maybe every once in a while. Like I see Venus conjunct Mars. So, or even Moon conjunct Moon, I see rare, but it's a little more frequent. And again, the only people that come to me who think they're twin flames usually have Neptune conjunct Uranus, or they have an in-sign or out-of-sign moon conjunction. So they're usually not too far off. Even Megan Fox and MGK, who think they're twin flames, have Neptune conjunct Uranus. So it's a very, you know, it gives you all the synchronicities, the signs, the symbols, and Uranus is erratic. It's erratic and it's air. So through the air, Neptune, who's subconsciously communicating, and the Uranus person's picking up on it. And they're like, okay, so Neptune's like maybe thinking of the Uranus person, maybe even subconsciously, and the Uranus person's getting all these signs through the airwaves, seeing their name, seeing the signs, seeing synchronicities. So it feels like a moon conjunction where these signs actually mean something, but all it is like Uranus being square to Mars or square to the sun. It's confusing, it's annoying, and it's frustrating, and it's on and off, and it's hot and cold, and it doesn't equate to much. It doesn't make sense. It's just blips and sparks, you know. You have to have a real talent or be like an Aquarius to be able to actually ground Uranian energy. And the reason an Aquarius can do that is because they're traditionally ruled by Saturn. So they have that Saturn groundedness to help them bring Uranus down to Earth. So it's a real acquired skill. It's why Aquarians, you know, are really some of our elite, okay? They're like the aliens, and they love aliens, you know. So and it's, you know, the 11th lifetime, you know, they're almost to the final stage. So it's very different than 12th house, which is Neptune, but it's almost there. So I feel like this relationship is accelerating that Uranus person to the 12th house faster, like where it would have been next lifetime. Now, I don't believe in multiple lifetimes per se, but I do find them interesting. I won't do readings on them. If I know something in the tarot that comes up represents like 6 of Cups, I'll say this could be past life, just because I know that card can mean that, but I don't read into it further than that. I don't tell people what their past lives are. So I believe we more are in realms and phases, and we're flowing energy, and this is one of the most solid states that we're in, if you think of it more like elemental particles. So this Uranus Neptune conjunction activation is accelerating the Uranian person to their Neptunian energy. So the Uranus person, and I was saying this opposite, probably is more likely going to be having this spiritual awakening here and seeing all the signs and getting all the airwaves. But it could happen to the Neptune person, because Uranus is over here sending signals. Neptune might be picking them up. Most likely it's going to be more subconscious though. With Neptune, it can really go either way. With Uranus, it's generally Uranus that's creating the issues. So I just had a client earlier wanted to ask me how someone felt, and they had Venus opposition Neptune. And you guys know this is one of my sort of mysterious ones too, Venus opposition or square Neptune. And actually the last 2 times I've gotten it, it's been the Neptune person that's been, you know, really trying to figure out, because Neptune's a fog, trying to figure out how the Venus person feels and feeling like Venus is sending mixed signals. So, but in my experience, I know that Venus can often be very obsessive over Neptune, and Neptune's just out of their reach because Neptune's a higher octave of Venus. So it can play either way with Neptune. So with Neptune conjunct Uranus, it can play either way. But Uranus is probably going to be the one that's more cognizant, because, you know, these are visual air signs, you know, it is air, so it is invisible still, but it's not unconscious. It's still conscious. So, but it's in little blips. Like, think of just zeros and ones, like digital, like just anything to do with electricity, technology. It's just blips, 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 sparks, sparks, sparks. So, there can be a current, you know, these two could get a current going, and it's very hard to disconnect from this energy. So, people do feel like it's the one, and with all the signs, symbols, and synchronicities, they have no reason not to, until I come along and save them a lot of years of really trying to make this work. So the reason I labeled this video 2 separate worlds is it's almost like this. I say this all the time with Mars square Jupiter, and I was saying it with another one, I think in the Deal Breaker Divorce Aspect video. And some analogies are really universal, but you're gonna live in 2 separate worlds, and there's gonna be commitment issues. So even though these planets are together in a conjunction, it's gonna feel like it's gonna be like commitment issues. It's gonna feel like I say, if Mars and square Jupiter, if they did get in the same house, like it was Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, because it rarely ever happens that they live together, then, you know, he was always leaving, and then he would be back, and she was disinterested, and they're never on the same page. This is kind of like that, except for they really do want to be together, and they do fantasize Neptune, you know, oh, someday we'll be together. There's a lot of future faking here. Not in like the malicious way though, of like Mercury square Neptune or something, where it could just be straight up like, hey, I'll call you back, and they don't. It's not like that per se. It's more of like, oh, let's like, oh yeah, someday when I'm done with school we'll be together, or, you know, I just got to figure out this thing in my life and then we'll be together. And, you know, and it's really subtle and insidious. That's, you know, just right now, it was kind of like in my narcissist video, short one that I did. Now notice I did take a few videos down because I was having some bad luck. Some people got some strong protection on them, and I don't want to mess with it. So just a little note there. If you hear me reference a video that's not there and it's about a celebrity, I'm done messing with certain people's energy. But anyway, so it's really like this subtle thing, but it's more something you're going to feel when you're not around each other, that's going to compel you to keep being drawn back to each other and feeling like you need to make it work, or feeling like it's your person. Because when you're not around each other, you're going to constantly thinking of each other, seeing signs of each other, and so you're going to be curious or want to keep re-exploring, no matter like how soft or hard the breakups are. Like, you're just going to keep gravitating back to each other. So it reminds me of the song, and I just told a client this, When Two Worlds Collide, and that song actually came on when I went racing to see the one in LA, like an hour away from where I was living at the time. That was the first time I ever heard the song When Two Worlds Collide. That was actually when he was doing, I don't know, that's when he got me to come over there and run over there when I was totally done and thought I would never go back. So the point of the matter is I don't want to get into like all the details, but that song was playing on the freeway, and I just remember it's like I think it's like 90s or 80s or something, and it's when two worlds collide. So this is two separate worlds. Yes, they will collide. Yes, you two will keep, continuing to, Neptune might just entertain it, where Uranus is like, oh, this is fated, or it can be vice versa. Again, most likely it's going to be that way, because so to wrap this all up, I was going to try to do 5 to 10 minutes, but we're at 20. I'm like, why is this coming up like so much? Why am I getting so many clients with it? And a lot of times my clients, not all of you, some of you are dealing with things I've dealt with, or just things that I've observed or that I've seen enough times with clients. But a lot of times I get at least one or two that are exactly dealing with exactly something that I'm dealing with or observing, or two, your guys' names and birthdays will be like earlier I had a client who was inquiring about a guy whose first name is the same as someone that I'm really close to and working closely with now, who's actually a neighbor's last name. So, and then there was something else weird about that too that was like tied to that person, and I literally called him and he had just been outside. So like, while he was outside, I get this order from the client with like the same name, from the same place as him. So that's how I know I'm connecting with you guys, right? When you guys come to me and you're like, literally, not always, but going through like exactly whatever I was focused on, okay? So I guess you needed me to help you, save you some years, because with Neptune conjunct Uranus, you're gonna keep trying to move in together, and you're gonna keep thinking that there's a future there, and it's kind of innocent on both sides. Like, yeah, the Neptune person might either encourage it or have every intention of it, but Neptune isn't very solid, it's very foggy, and then the Uranus person's gonna have all this activity, but it's scattered energy, it's not channeled when it's conjunct Neptune. So if it was like Uranus conjunct Saturn, you guys can channel that. It can be channeled very well, because it's Aquarius, but if it's Neptune conjunct Uranus, it's just an acceleration. It's just pushing you forward towards something else, towards something Neptunian, like a twin flame or a spiritual awakening. It's not, or even maybe a technological breakthrough could work the other way, where maybe Neptune could bring some sort of subconscious knowledge to Uranus and the Uranus person, but it's something more to be channeled towards life and your own self. It's like how they say, like, bring it back to yourself. In this relationship with Uranus and the mystery of Neptune, it's going to be so confusing and chaotic at all times that you're never going to have any clarity, you're never going to have any stability, and you're constantly going to be striving and putting energy towards finding clarity, towards getting stability, towards settling this down. And you're both genuinely going to be, it's whether one is malicious or not, or intentionally playing games, you're both never going to be able to make your worlds connect. Like, even if, say, you spend lots of time in each other's homes, you're not going to be able to like go to family functions or do things that normal couples do, because there's always going to be this frenetic energy that can't be calmed down. Like, it's almost even really hard to just like lay down and watch a whole movie together. I mean, depends on the other aspects. Like, this one was the second one was a Taurus. Like, he's just lazy, so it was possible, but it was just so hard to connect. So the reason I brought this up is because I was getting all of these, and so I had my rose-colored glasses on, and it was the universe's way of telling me the connection that I was currently dealing with. And you guys might, if you've been watching my tarot videos and stuff, I'm like, oh, I just broke up with a Virgo, and then the Hermit had showed up in my Lover's Oracle one day when I was doing the Sagittarius reading a few weeks ago. And so the reason I, had to pause my videos is because, I've been working a lot on a few things, including just with my clients, but I got distracted because he came back in my life, and so I had to deal with that. So as something was going on yesterday, and, just all this chaos and confusion, and me, knowing that there's no deal breakers, no like hard Mars aspects, nothing like that, there's some red flags, friction, me thinking like this could really work. Yeah, it's not ideal, but it's a good, solid, there's there's no deal breakers, there's no hard Mars aspects. I'm like, this could actually probably work. And there's a lot of promising things, like for example, his mother really liked me, and like, you know, we'd known each other a long time, and we talked a lot, and there was a lot of good things there. You know, we had Venus trine Pluto, which I thought was a little bit more than it was. When I reread the description today, it's actually just more of like an evolution and helping each other grow. But for some reason at that time, I was thinking that it was a love at first sight aspect. I gotta find which one that is, because there is something with Venus and Pluto. But anyway, so basically I was looking, and there was a lot of confusion last night, and you know, I'm just kind of tired of this little tug of war. And you know, there was everything there, you know, for me to be a part of his world, and to, you know, I was invited to all the family functions and everything. And you know, they say narcissists love to ruin holidays, but to not go into like pop psychology here, I'm just kidding. I was just like, I don't get it. Like, why are we not connecting as partners? Like, why, like, I get invited, like we speak as partners, we talk as partners, but we're not connecting as partners. And I was like, oh, this just, you know, it just, we got to do certain things first, and we're just not there yet. And then I was skimming back over, because I ran a couple different charts last night, and then I was running for clients. I was like skimming over the I think I have some orders coming in too, so I got to go soon, but because they're hour ones. But I was skimming over the aspects, and I was like, oh, I totally glossed over this for myself. We have Neptune conjunct Uranus, and here I'm Neptune. So I was totally asleep in a fog, not seeing Uranus being chaotic and crazy, which he is, very unstable, and throwing my game off, and throwing off, you know, my focus and my stability and what I need to do, because I want to throw in it. I wanted to go all into this relationship because this connection is so strong. Now, again, I had touched on, we had Neptune square Jupiter, which I think literally translates into, I think it's my Jupiter square, I don't remember which way, but you know, Jupiter is the husband, so Neptune square Jupiter would literally be like seeming like the husband, right? And it says false promises, big overinflated, they can't do that, whatever. I'm very shortcutting this because I got to check on clients and I don't want to cut, but I literally had a client, and they've been married like 20 years and have that, so it can still be like that Neptune can still fill the role of Jupiter. Remember, Neptune is the ruler of Pisces, but Jupiter is the traditional ruler. So Neptune square Jupiter actually can fill in for your Jupiter, but it's still gonna be like still not your Jupiter, and you're still gonna feel disappointed at times, but the disappointment's not gonna be heavy, because Jupiter's huge and a giant, but he's a gas giant. So I believe that Jupiter and Neptune are pretty light energies, you know, like they're not heavy. So Neptune, even in a square, can fill in for Jupiter. It's interesting. So I was like, yeah, it could be like, okay, the one before the one, although I feel like a lot of aspects are that I was just like, okay, it's just basically, you know, he's maybe not the one, but he's someone I could settle with, you know, and I like him, and I'm attached to him, and I want to be with him. But when I saw Neptune conjunct Uranus there, and I kept saying to him, like, I don't want to waste another 4 years figuring this out, you know, and you know, I guide you guys all the time, but my own intuition isn't as clear for myself. We're not meant to know everything, you know, so, and we have free will, so we can work against ourselves and self-sabotage. So I was just like, I saw Neptune conjunct Uranus, and I was just like, I honestly don't see this one connect. I don't. I see it as one where, yeah, you could date this person for 5-10 years, and you could have a history with them, and other people could know, and so it could seem like a solid relationship. But it's sort of like what I say with Mars opposition Pluto, which I did happen to have with that Neptune conjunct Uranus one when I moved here. So maybe this was actually what I was picking up on for that a little. You're not gonna get, you could be partners, and you could spend a lot of time together, and you could be at each other's houses, and you could call each other boyfriend and girlfriend or not, and you could be committed in your brains and in your words, but there's not going to be the solidification or the security or the stability that you need ever. So I just had a client ask me, like, so why can't he be the one? Because they do have good synastry. And I was like, well, he could be, and he might be. And I like to give you guys clearer answers than that. But with Neptune conjunct Uranus, honestly, I don't think I've seen it. I don't think I've seen it in any stable marriages. you know, I'll start looking. But normally I'm seeing it more in you know, people that are very connected to each other, very into each other. It's mutual energy. They're both very into each other. They'll stay connected for years. But I don't see it in couples living together, in couples that are married. So it depends what your goals are. If you just want like a companion that's around, that's fun, that you feel very strongly connected to, and you are okay with not trying to make them the one, which is what I did with the one when I first got here. But I didn't do that with this one. This one I was like more like, oh, maybe it's just, you know, the one is such a big umbrella thing, and I was like, maybe this is a practical, real choice for me, like a real tangible choice. Unfortunately, with Neptune conjunct Uranus, it's not tangible at all. Uranus and Neptune are not tangible planets, okay? So, and this is a disruptive enough energy where the two can keep interacting. It's not going to like make you hate each other per se, where you're going to part ways. Eventually, there's going to be resentment. So it's just one that you can't settle into. You're never going to be comfortable in it. Like Mars square Uranus. But Mars square Uranus, Mars is going to come and go. And Venus square Uranus, not Mars, Uranus is going to come and go and leave Mars and Venus hanging all the time in different ways. And that's really unsettling and hurtful for Venus. So this is not going to be so much of that, but it is. It's going to be a little bit off and on, a little bit like, oh, but then, you know, when Neptune comes back, actually in this case it was when Uranus comes back, it's almost like, I was talking about this with the coffee shop girl the other day, it's called toxic amnesia. I started following this new narcissist group, which I follow a few, but this one, it like really gets to the nitty gritty. I can't even share them sometimes because they're like so deep but so dead on, and it was like toxic amnesia, and that's what you have in narcissistic relationships. That is I mean, I might put that in the title of this. You'll literally have, whether you're Neptune or Uranus, toxic amnesia, like where, you know, you two go through this whole little whirlwind, this crazy little, like, okay, like, you know, I don't want to use narcissistic terms, but like, you know, you two reconnect and you're all excited because of whatever other aspects, and this is really exciting energy, and then you kind of like get going again, and then it kind of crumbles because there's no stability in this, and then, you know, some time goes by because Neptune's here, you forget whether you're Uranus or Neptune, and so then you re-engage, and it's an exciting energy. And I was watching another narcissist video where they're like, you know, when you grew up in a chaotic environment, you're addicted to that chaotic energy, so you subconsciously, which is Neptune, don't know that you're attracted to it. So when you get into something, it feels natural, and you think it's going to stabilize, but it doesn't stabilize because you weren't getting into something stable, right? So this aspect is going to make you have to go through a lot of those life lessons, is all I'm going to say. So you can hold on tight to the reins and you can try to make it work. Don't waste more than 4 years of your life on it, you guys. And if you're like, you know, clock is ticking or anything, you know, this isn't someone that is going to be someone to build a stable home with. It's someone who's great, like if you're in your early 20s and you just want a companion, you know, definitely do your own thing, and don't expect them to be the one you're going to marry, but they could be a good person to just be around in your atmosphere for you to connect with, to learn and grow with. It definitely accelerates growth and learning and spirituality, but don't try to pin this person to be your one, okay? And they may seem like a very practical choice. Again, if you guys have a different experience, and some of you have been married 10, 15, 20 years and you have this, or you know someone, let me know. I would love to hear about it. I love to be proven wrong, because then I have to evaluate, oh, maybe it wasn't Mars opposition Pluto that was causing that unconnection, you know? Like, I don't know. I still think it does a little bit of that rubber banding, and it does draw people magnetically, but they can't quite connect. But this one too can do that, where it's just, there's a real desire to be around each other, but you can't get in a normal flow. You can't, you know, you're invited to the dinners, you're invited to do things, but you're not doing normal couple things really at the end of the day all that much. Most of the time is just spent like in this little chaotic game. So, you know, it's a more of this cat mouse kind of energy, and it is it's forcing evolution and growth. So you know, everything has its good side and its bad side. I just want you guys to be a little more illuminated about this aspect and understand what it's doing to you when you're caught in it, because it's kind of addicting. It's like an empath narcissist kind of thing. Although I don't want to say like everyone in this is a narcissist or something. It's more of a light, you know, subtle energy, but it could definitely, if you are dealing with that type of person, you know, this is not going to help you, you know, but it could just be in general. It's just, you're never going to quite get to that where you guys want to be, and the little things are going to get undermined a lot because of the chaos and confusion, right? The chaos is Uranus and the confusion is Neptune. So when these two planets are together, your Uranus or Neptune with someone else's, you know, it's very confusing and chaotic. So all right, love and light. Okay, you guys, so I actually just helped a few clients, and one of them I'm working through a Neptune conjunct Uranus situation, and he's Uranus and she's Neptune. I never like to divulge too much, but he's like obsessively thinking of her, and she's Neptune and she doesn't really know, like, why does he keep popping up? So she brought up two really good points though. You know, they are close enough to talk about living together and things like that, because Neptune conjunct Uranus, like, it's gonna pull you two together. So you're gonna really want to try to make it work, but like I was saying, the whole chaos and you know, there's not gonna be a lot of security in this relationship, not a lot of consistency, kind of what I was ending rant on. But she had brought up two good points to me when she was kind of fleshing out her feelings just about their relationship. Was one, is he gonna make her a priority, and two, you know, is she gonna be able to keep her independence? So ironically, she's Neptune, which I feel like Uranus would be more the independent one, you know. But the thing is that's, you know, I was talking about different themes here, like security versus like predictability, which there won't be any of here. And I didn't articulate with those words, but I wanted to add them in. Like, you're not, because your worlds are separate, like even if you guys are like, you stay with each other for like a week at a time, you're not going to feel prioritized. Most likely, if you're the Neptune person, you're not going to feel prioritized. And if you're Uranus or Neptune, you're going to have a little bit of a fear of a loss of independence. And sorry you guys, I think I was actually confusing it with a Uranus trine with like the sun or Mars or something. Because there's a description in Cafe Astrology that says like this relationship encourages independence and freedom, but I think that's like Mars trine Uranus or something like that, or maybe the Sun trine. And even then, I know I did a video, like even Sun trine Uranus, it can be hard to make it formal. And this is what my client was kind of saying with this Neptune conjunct Uranus energy. She was like, you know, I don't necessarily want it to be like totally formal. Like, I want us to kind of have our separate lives but live together kind of thing. And so, yeah, if you're happy and content with that, but the only thing at the same time is like, if you need to be prioritized, even though whenever we're dealing with Uranus contacts, even positive ones, I always say you're going to have to count the time that you spend together as the relationship over labels and titles. Now, I've even had clients come back and say, well, yeah, but they said they want to be in a relationship. Like, even my most recent Neptune conjunct Uranus one, like, we were committed, we were boyfriend, girlfriend, we were in a relationship. Does that mean, though, that he always behaved like he was committed? You know, more than most because of the title, but there's still that unpredictability. It can feel like a betrayal when, you know, the rug gets ripped out from under you. So basically, it's like, yeah, he could go somewhere I didn't want him to go, and, you know, I could literally, if I thought about it logically, trust that he wouldn't do anything wrong there because I just know his character and the way that he behaves. But at the same time, it was an insult to me and the boundaries and the values of the relationship. So, you know, those boundaries and values aren't going to be as clear and stuff. And there is going to be this, like, even for me in that one, I was Neptune. I guess she's Neptune here too. So Neptune actually is going to fear more of a loss of independence, even though Uranus is the independent planet. Because Uranus is so erratic, the Neptune's like, is Uranus going to prioritize me, or am I just going to get drug around and then lose my, you know, ability to like focus on myself and my things because I'm caught up in this this whirlwind. It's almost like an enabling energy. Like, am I going to have to give up what I'm focusing on to enable the erraticness of Uranus to try to keep things grounded, to compensate? You know, so it's pretty unsettling. It can be sustained for a long time, but it's never going to settle into like a solid marriage or stability. And yeah, so basically Neptune will just, you know, have all these other things that they want to do in their life that they just feel that Uranus threatens, either by distracting them too much, consuming too much of their energy, right? Electricity, like it could almost feel like a circuit without a, you know, a closed loop or something, where Neptune, you know, is like the ethers, the collective unconscious, and Uranus is tapping into that because it's a conjunction and just draining Neptune. And I was talking about this with the coffee shop girl the other day too, you know, and I have to be mindful of this in my readings, and I'm not always, is we need to be pulling that energy from the divine to channel, and not trying to use our own energy. Like, you know, I will do that. I'll like tap in to the energy and then use my energy to project. I need to be channeling through. So Uranus can definitely be like a open circuit where the Neptune energy is just getting drained and it's subconscious. So it's just like, and like all they see is all these fireworks and lights and distractions from Uranus, and they lose themselves. So there's a fear of independence, of loss of independence for Neptune. Or like if they want to do other things in life and other projects, and they're just like, okay, but if I settle down with Uranus person, I'm gonna have to give up all of that. But I don't know if Uranus is even someone we're settling for, because Uranus is chaotic. So it can be a little bit of a double-edged sword here, kind of like a open circuit that can never be closed. And yeah, you can spend quite a bit of time on it. So it's, you know, it really depends. Like I said, it might be a good relationship in your 20s where you're not ready to get married, but you want to stay connected to someone, but have your freedom. Basically what I was saying. They're a little bit older, but, you know, they're in a stage where they don't necessarily want to formalize marriage, but they want to be in each other's presence. So, you know, it can play out these different ways. But yeah, if you want to like get married and have, you know, someone who's predictable and home every night, and, you know, you guys make a plan and you stick to it and there's never any deviation, stay away from Neptune conjunct Uranus person. All right, love and light.